across as a bit of a goof. Also with that being said, I'm like, I also want to have a good time. I wouldn't want to just have like a super serious conversation. I don't think, at least. What the thing is, I don't have any experience with it.
Mm.
The most I want to say action and adventure that I've had so far off of an episode has been with Sniper.
I watched a bit of that. Yeah.
I had a giant evening with him, and I think he's absolutely dynamic. It was definitely an entertaining moment for me, even not knowing him.
Mm.
But it's good to have you back with us. Is this
Yeah.
all too much? Is this all too much for you at the moment? Do you want me to give you a second here just to line yourself up?
No, I'm fine. I'm just
Are you
got some
sure?
other. I've got
You,
some tech stuff going on here.
is
Oh,
it is
actually,
it
hold on one
Tinder?
second.
Is it Bumble? Is it Hinge? What do you want? Oh,
Yeah,
I heard
right.
that laugh, so it's one of them. Okay, there we go. That's the confirmation for sure. Okay, so
Yeah.
so so Dan is apparently on the hunt, and this is it right now. I mean, if you want to take a second to consider something, this is possibly the greatest dating moment that we could have for you right
Sure.
now. Back in 1997, it was a thing to do to make a mixtape.
Mm-hmm.
It was absolutely essential to have if you wanted to get booked at a show. Calling cards weren't a Beatport top 10, multiple Spotify playlistings, or a hot Instagram account. It was how you mixed, your musical selection, and whether or not that mixtape got a lot of attention. If there was a lot of conversation happening around the mixtape, which would happen because there wasn't a million mixtapes that were out there. There were maybe 100. So it
Mm-hmm.
was easy for something to stand out. If you wanted to go ahead and get noticed, it wasn't just a promoter that you would want to go ahead and clue up about your mix. Also, what you would want to do is get your mix submitted to today that would be a popular blog. In 1996 and 1997, it was Tribe Magazine. One of the people at the magazine was a DJ named D-Monic, who was responsible for the mixtape reviews. This is how I met Dan.
Is it?
I
Yeah.
submitted. I
I think
submitted.
so.
I submitted tape, and you gave it a very strong review. I believe you called it Tape of the Month, and then I followed it up with another mixtape, and you gave that Tape of the Month too. And then when we were out, unplanned, is when we came face to face with each other. We became friends. If there was an actual moment like right now where we're on screen together and people could have some insight into the relationship of me and Dan, it would be the clown, the straight man. And I absolutely adore hanging out with you, and I have for a super long time. Your insight has always been 100. Please welcome back to the show, DJ D-Monic.
For the second time.
Part deux.
Yeah. Am I your first two-parter?
You're not.
All right, I'm done here.
I thought I was the clown.
I only
You're
do
the straight
first. No,
man.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, sure. Wow. We had Dr. Draw 2 times. The
Mm.
second time, our plan originally for Draw and I, we were going to put on a Chris McCuck concert, and call it Joy Stream the World. And we even built a flyer around it, and it's posted on all the socials. And then obviously we
Mm.
couldn't get it together the way we wanted to because, especially around the holidays, it was just a giant mess. So he got together with his bandmates and did a set for us, and it was fantastic. We also had Jules, which was just last week,
Mm.
and Jules and I were supposed to play back to back. I saw Jules play here in Utility Room, and I wanted Jules to come on the show because I knew that Jules was a dope DJ.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was absolutely confirmed when Jules played Utility Room. And then I was like, because the energy, there was a match on the energy. I was like, I want to match that energy. So, because that's what it is for me. And so I wanted to play with her. We were supposed to do something together on Thursday. We couldn't do that. Jules ended up interviewing me, so we could do a bit of a switch on Utility Room, and that was a lot of fun. So you're number 3.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
great.
Top 3.
Top 3. Listen, I know that when we were on Utility Room last time and we were talking, we scratched some surfaces of some stuff. Obviously, you want to hear more. Go for a deeper dive. The thing that I wanted to bring up to you was, I'm not quite sure. Did you see the Czech episode?
Yes.
Okay. So Czech brought up some stuff in regards to breakbeats on what his thoughts were, his opinion towards, I guess, what happened with the genre.
Okay.
What did you think about that? Did you hear what he had to say?
I did. I have my own opinions.
Oh,
So,
that's
well,
what
it
I'd like
depends.
to hear.
It depends on on the perspective that you're looking for, like breaks as a music, or breaks as a scene in Toronto, or a scene in general.
What's the difference?
Oh, there's a difference. So breaks never went away. It's always been around. They've been producing breaks forever. It never stopped. The thing that changed was the interest in breaks. And I remember specifically, especially in Toronto, I remember when it shifted, and when it shifted and then died. The music was still coming out, and it was still big in other parts of the world, just not here. And that was right around the time. Do you remember when?
Can you wait? Hold on for a second. I
Yeah,
got
go
to
ahead.
pause you, and then we'll do the remember when. What is the shift that you're talking about? What is this shift?
The thing about music and the thing about entertainment in general is that it's very taste based, and tastes change. So the people that liked going out to breaks events, um, they found something new, and that was more exciting at the time, and they went for that. Um, it happens. It happens with a lot of things, a lot of taste, but lots of things fall out of favor. So as far as um, events that were breaks only events, as we had been doing for many, many years, there was just more interesting things going on that we couldn't compete with. But the music was still coming out. I continued to buy it, and it was still great.
So you just feel
Things
like this is just as like also it just wasn't the darling anymore. But was breaks ever the darling? So here's
No,
so I want to bring up a perspective for a second. For one
sure.
moment in time, Carl Cox was heavily invested in breaks. He just did a
Mhm.
live stream. Was it a week ago or two? I know it was recently. I can't say when recently, but I know it was recently. And I think the live stream was about breaks.
Hmm.
Did you see this?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it, but I heard about it. I just didn't watch it. But
Like at one point, I believe Carl was touring heavily with Adam Freeland, and like
sure.
that was like considered that was the massive support in the direction that it was happening. It's almost, I feel like it's a bit of a mystery, which is why I bring it up. It's like, what happened to breaks? Like, this could be a documentary, because
Yeah.
it became the third room. Like, there was 2 rooms, and someone's like, you know what, we need one more room, and that room's going to be breaks. So
Yep.
clearly, the genre and the sound is having a feel of something that's happening. There's a lot of interest, you know.
Yep.
And for me, I thought to myself that of all the music that might be electronic, the one that's most closely aligned with hip hop would be breakbeats. You know,
100%.
especially
Yep.
the mid tempo stuff, and Ace Skills that was
Yep.
doing stuff at Fabric. I mean,
Hmm.
this mid tempo vibe. I mean, if you threw
It's
the if
really good.
yeah, it's amazing. If you threw it on, I think in the middle of a hip hop show, I mean, I can't say everyone would go, oh yeah, this is the best, but I don't think you would lose everyone either.
No, and you hear a lot of his stuff and similar stuff in a lot of turntablist sets. So it's popular. The difference, though, and I think I know where the disconnect is with what you were saying, is um, something that I alluded to in the last episode, is that a lot of people especially like when I talked heavily last time about the difference between party culture and concert culture. In the last, in the more recent times, and by my definition of recent, it's like all the way back to like 2010 in that general area. Um, personalities were a big deal. So Adam Freeland, as you brought up, was was a personality. He wasn't necessarily a breaks DJ. Those who knew what breaks were knew that he was a breaks DJ. But on the other side, there were people that knew Adam Freeland played this cool music. They didn't necessarily know it as breaks. Um, and that was a pretty big thing around the world. Like I even struggled with that when I was doing events at the government because I would get full rooms of people. I'm like, this is really cool. What is this? Like, it's breaks. Like, but I don't know what that is. Like, all right. Well. So yeah. So in that from your Carl Cox example and your Adam Freeland example, yeah, Carl has eclectic music taste, and he's been doing a lot of great stuff on his streams. He did a bunch of drum and bass ones that were great, bunch of old school ones that were great, did some disco ones that were great. But yeah, breaks in general had a struggle. There was a middle point in the '90s where the branding of breaks was good, so people knew this music is called breaks. And then after that, it just was cool, fun music that people didn't know the name of. The people that knew it as breaks continued carrying that flag, but after that, it was just that cool music at that party that one time. Um, and that was really the problem that I struggled with pushing that sound for so long with various events and parties was I would call them breaks parties because that's what they were, but people didn't know what that meant. And when I asked them, I'm like, well, what do you call this music? It's like, oh, it's some new kind of house. Like, well, I can't call it a house event because it's not. So that was the biggest struggle was that in those 2010 onwards times, people liked the music when they hear it, but they didn't care to know what it was called. So like they didn't really follow the genres. It was EDM, it was house music, it was that techno stuff. I think the crowds later on got less interested in caring about genres um, to a point. Well, not the sub genres. It was like the big ones, the house, the trance, the technos. Everything under that was other.
Do you think that maybe if who would you say became the biggest breaks DJ producer type?
Well, what's your criteria? Sales, popularity, touring.
Let's I mean let's generalize.
Sure, Crafty Cuts for sure. He was definitely
Yes.
at the top. Um,
Still.
Adam Freeland for different reasons. Like I said before, he had a great like management PR thing going where he was more of a name that played music rather than playing a specific type of music. He was very popular. Icy dominated the states for so long. Um, yeah, those are like the Stand Warriors have done well. Those are like the top names. Like Decline's okay. He's been pretty popular. But yeah, Crafty to my mind is like the top of the top. Oh, and the Freestylers, of course. The Freestylers had some really big pop success in the early '90s as well.
So you're
So
naming over a half dozen names right now. So you've got all of these names that are pushing music and touring as well. Do you
mhm.
feel that maybe the banner for breaks wasn't flowing in the right direction? I'm not quite sure how else to say it. Like that there was. I mean, today it would be it
Yeah,
wasn't
if you think
maybe it
about it,
wasn't
if you
hashtagged properly, but like
maybe. Well, think about it. Think about it a different way. When when somebody becomes popular to the point where they're on like magazine covers and whatever else, um, talking about the genre is like low on the list. They're talking about themselves. They're talking about the songs, the album, not necessarily the genre. Like you don't hear Jay-Z talking about like, oh, my new hip hop album is the best hip hop album of hip hop. Um, you know, it was just like an afterthought. Like people started recognizing the names, and they might pick up the album and listen to the music, but they never put that link together that this is breakbeat. This is just cool music. So that's always been the struggle, and I've tried so hard over the years to try and get more people to listen to the music, but you know, it was just the hardest thing to do because they didn't understand or care about the genre. They started caring about the headliners, and that was it. You know, the local DJs that played breaks didn't matter unless they had a hell of a marketing team behind them. It was really tough.
You had a marketing team?
I didn't, but I tried. I tried my best. But
No,
yeah, it
but
was all about, like I said, concert culture, man. It was you had to brand yourself to get people to come out to events. They weren't coming to the events for the sake of events anymore. They needed that headline marquee draw.
do you think that has changed? Do you not think that maybe that's how it was as well?
Not at the beginning.
You think
No.
people would just go to a night because of the music that was being promoted, regardless of who was on the lineup? I'm gonna say no. The reason why I'm gonna say no is because I mean, even like in the year, say the year 2000, when two parties per night started really happening, and it was not unusual that there would be two different promotion groups that were both firing on a Saturday, and then
Hmm.
you would hope, fingers crossed, that there'd be different genres. So it'd be like, cool, the junglists are gonna be really happy. That's going on over there, and then the trans people are, there's Destiny happening over here at the Opera House, so let's go
Hmm.
there. Um, but obviously there was moments where there would be a night where it'd be two house nights or two techno nights or two trance nights. I mean, this did
Yep.
happen, and when it did happen, what the fuck, my screen keeps resizing.
Oh,
That's
does it?
okay. I gotcha.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah. Um, and
No, but I
what
know where
one
you're
what?
going. I know where you're going
Okay,
with that.
okay. Well, just to finish my thought, I'd just say
Sure.
one jam obviously did better than the other, and typically the reason why that would happen was because of who was on the lineup.
Most of the time.
Okay.
So I'll give you a good example of what you just talked about. So really, at the end of the day, people have a struggle with separating themselves from others.
Oh my
One of
God.
the things that
Hey.
I learned, what, what? I wait for the laughter.
Yeah, so you're Jules Bangsworth tonight.
I am.
Yeah, you are. You're Jules Bangsworth.
Oh,
You look,
amazing.
yeah, you look a little bit different than when we were talking on Thursday night. But
Okay.
yeah, I
I
didn't
assume there's a
change. I didn't.
tdo error.
Yeah, I didn't change. I just got the notification right now, and I'm just like looking at it. I'm just like, ah.
Yeah.
I'm positive. Do you have what you were going to say to me?
Yeah, of course.
Great.
So
Yeah, great.
I'll continue on that thought. I'll let you work on the titling. um,
I can't
so
change it. It's too late. I have to change it after. I have to go into all the apps and physically change.
nah, it is what it is. So all right,
Yeah. Hey,
focus. Bring it back
I'm
in. Bring it back in.
no,
Okay.
like I said, clown straight
Yeah.
that way. Yeah.
So this is actually a good point. I'm glad you brought it up. So the people like you and me who care about genres and music and stuff like that, that sort of stuff mattered. Um, the general party population didn't care as much. They just wanted to go out and have a good time. This was a lesson that I actually learned when I was doing events at the government, when I was running the breaks rooms at their big long weekend shows, and um, my rooms were always amazing. They were just like it was the most intense energy. It was a lot of fun,
I remember.
and I remember um, just randomly talking to people because I'm always about market research. I'm like, how do I improve? How do I improve on the next one? How do I make it better for the next people? So I was asking people, I'm like, hey, what do you think? They're like, oh man, this is great. I've never heard this before. What is this? This is great. I'm like, out of curiosity, what brought you to the party? Which of the DJs like piqued your interest? Like, oh, I don't know, man. I just heard that this was the place to be. And that was the truth as far back as the beginning. Those 10,000 person CNE parties was the same thing. People just went to the party because that was the place to be. And that was more often than not, I found out much later. That so in your example of why did one party do better than the other party, for a lot of the time it was the headliner for sure, but it was also the marketing. Which party looked like it was the hype party? Which was the one that like that was the one that's going to be crazy? I can't miss that because it's going to be sick. So that happened more often than not. So people like to get hung up on genres and music and stuff, but at the end of the day, people just wanted a good party. And I think that's where Break sort of failed in the end because we were really pushing the music, not so much the party. We weren't the place to be. If you came, you would have a great time. But getting you through the door when there was so many other cool parties going on, that was a struggle. And actually, going back to the point that I was talking about earlier, I can pinpoint when everything fell apart in Toronto, when those core breaks people started not showing up and going to other events. It was right around the time of you remember like the hipster electro phase. I think that was around 2006, 7.
7, 8. The
Yeah,
the
about 7.
blog is
Around the time that Circa was big. Yeah, Bloghouse. That was
Bloghouse.
yeah, around that time. There were so many cool parties going on. Like just you just wanted to go to those parties. I even wanted to go to those parties. But it was, and that's when we lost out. Like there were so many parties going on that like if you threw a party, you would struggle to get a decent attendance because there were so many other cooler things going on that night. And really, one of the other things that I also realized at the end, and I'm disappointed that I realized all of this stuff after the fact and not while it was happening, was that the basic premise is if you can take attendance at your party, you're seen as dead. So if you know everybody that is coming to your party, if you know everybody that's there, if you can pick out, oh, where's so-and-so, then you're seen as dead. Because like if you're counting on those 100 or so people to show up to break even, it's over. And there's other genres that are struggling with that right now. They just haven't realized it yet. And I keep trying to tell them and they're not listening. So
I like that a lot, actually. I like that. I don't
it's
think
the
you're
truth.
wrong. Yeah, no, for sure it is. I don't think you're wrong.
And there was actually, you know what, an early eye-opening moment that I brushed aside that hit me like a brick much later. When I was doing my first party, the first Pure Funk party at Turbo, I won't get into the details on how they totally took advantage of my being naive and optimistic. But I remember.
Wait, who's
telling
they?
Life Force. I think it's either Steve or Wayne. I can't remember. But like when I first went in there, it said like I want to do a party. I'm like super excited about it. It's going to be huge. It's going to be massive. It was in 2000. It was the one that I brought Baby Ann for. It was on a Thursday night, and I was confident that I was going to get like a packed nightclub, and I was just way overconfident on that. And I think it was Wayne actually. And Wayne just stopped me right there. He's like, "Hey, let me ask you a question." And this is in 2000. So let me ask you a question. When was the last 1,000-person breaks party you went to? And it just like stopped me in my tracks. I'm like, oh, shit. Yeah, that's a good point. Like, and then I just jumped right back into it. And then I thought about it later. I'm like, oh, he's got a point there. Maybe it's bigger than I thought, or like I'm thinking that it's bigger than it is. Because like I was trying to think about that. I was like, oh, the biggest breaks only party that I've been to was like, I don't know, 300-400 people. Meanwhile, house events are packed. They're packed out clubs all the time. 10,000 person parties just for house DJs. Like, shit. That's a good point. Never thought of it like that. So now, even today, when people are talking to me about subgenres and stuff, I'm like, oh, when was the last 1,000-person insert genre here party that you went to? That usually shuts down conversations pretty quick.
I'm thinking. So I'm not trying to be a silent guy right now. I'm just you just said a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm just trying to think about my New Year's Eve resolution in 2020, which wasn't really a resolution. It's a train of thought, which is that it's never too late. And I feel like we live in a society. It's
Hmm.
that it's like, oh, it's this time, you can't do it. And I was like, and this wasn't in regards to something that was said to me about music. Actually, it's absolutely unrelated to music, but it's definitely applicable to it. And you know, I wonder what music might be like summer 2022. This is where my brain's at. My people,
Hmm.
man, I want to rave with you again. Like, wouldn't it be cool if you ended up back here? And I have had a couple of mails and stuff where people have, offered to put me on a plane and go to some small party, with,
Hmm.
in a cottage or something. I've said no to everything. Um, I just, when stuff comes back, what's the sound going to be? Because you know what it is? I feel like there's a reset that's happening. And I wonder if there's a reset with music. And then I also wonder if there's a reset with rave. And if there is, then I guess we're kind of going into hardcore and and fast trance.
Probably not. No, it'll be more of the same
You
with
think so?
sprinklings of with new stuff. Yeah, because well, it depends on your on the question on this perspective. So the big EDC type festivals, more of the same. But like individual nights, yeah, we could have a whole new scene like we did in that hipster electro time, where that just sort of came out of nowhere and just took over for a while. Things like that. The ebbs and flows of music happen often. Um, but again, to my previous point, how many people that go to those big mega festivals, the EDCs and the ultras, are going for the music, or are they going because it's the place to be?
I want to say that I feel like in 2015 I realized that there was definitely two scenes. There is the music scene and there is the party scene, and that they are
Hmm.
definitely very different.
Yep.
And there's a lot of people that are still heavily interested in electronic music, but they won't go out anymore. And I feel like, when I first started going out, that relationship was symbiotic.
Hmm.
And you could you not that you couldn't do it, but you would not want to do one without the other. Like you did the music at home during the week, and then in the weekend it came to life. Um,
Hmm. But that was something else that I learned much later on was that like everybody is not you, or me, for that matter. Like I was the same way. For me, those early parties, the music and the atmosphere and the party itself were symbiotic. But there was a lot of people that it was either one or the other. I remember an interview that I did with Tribe forever ago. One of the questions that Alex asked me was, "Where did all the people go?" And he was talking about this was after iDance, after things sort of shut down, after those 10,000 person parties went away. Like there was 10, 12, up to 18,000 people going out to a party every weekend, and then a couple thousand person clubs. Like where did those people go?
I
Because
have.
those big
Are
parties,
you are
those
you
parties disappeared.
are you asking me or the parties? Why? But why did the
Yeah.
parties disappear?
Well, the parties didn't disappear. They just moved to smaller venues. But if those people were really there for the music and not for the big party experience, then there should have been the market would have generated more 1,000 person club nights, but it didn't.
Is it possible that there was? It's really funny. I can talk about. I've thrown a few shows, but I would never consider myself a promoter. And
Mm.
I don't know how many clubs I've played in. I could never really. I mean, I've got opinions about clubland and clubs itself, but I'm not behind the scenes, so I'm just a guy with an opinion. I've never worked really in a nightclub, so I don't know the workings of a nightclub. Or I couldn't, like, for example, I couldn't imagine the associated stresses of being in the nightclub industry today, right now, currently. I mean, today.
Oh, right now it's awful. I
I
know a
mean,
couple club
my
people, and
heart goes
they're
out because I mean, again, you know, we could generalize and say that maybe, you know, who knows who the club owners are, you know, but there are definitely people who are out there, especially if the clubs are geared towards this music, who adore this music. I mean,
yeah,
they probably wouldn't be doing it if they didn't, and they do, and they keep going because they want their adventure to continue, and they want your adventure
yeah,
to continue as well.
absolutely. A lot of the good clubs that exist today are there for good reasons. And I always go back to Coda. Coda is an amazing club. I love that place. And it's run by good people for good reasons, good motivations. You know, there's still the occasional shady club owner, but those guys aren't it. And like if Coda closes, I will cry. I will be so sad because that place is amazing.
So I'm my hot take on that is that if that happened, I don't fear, or I mean, like, I know that there's no way that I would promote this as like I'll go, like, this is the green light, but you know, if it happened, I would hope that Steph and Joel, I'm not quite sure who else is involved in Coda today, but that Steph and Joel would be like, let's pause this, and then let's go again when it happens, you know, when stuff
Hmm.
was possible, right?
Yeah. At the end of the day, and I've said this to a few people, and it's the truth. There's a lot of people that are very worried for the entertainment business and the hospitality business during the pandemic, and they're like, "Oh, what's going to happen to all that stuff?" I'm like, "Look, at the end of the day, entertainment and hospitality isn't going away,
No.
but you may not recognize it when it comes back." So there will be nightclubs, there will be restaurants, there will be festivals, there will be other things, but those people that lost during the pandemic, they might not be around anymore, but new people will be. So,
Sure. But there was no guarantee that there wasn't going to be new people as is. I mean, music
right.
is
Yeah.
somewhat transient. And granted, there's, you know, if anything, I want to say, of all the genres, electronic music is one of those genres where, like, people are still kicking around. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep. No, absolutely. It's not going anywhere. You just, like I said, you just might not recognize it when you come back.
sure, you mean the, like, as far as the dance floor, or for people that are working it, or
No,
the
I'm
whole
more
thing,
more like the venues and
right?
stuff that you love. They might not be there.
I want to say that there's going to be a party season for you know, maybe
Hell yeah.
up until 2025, and that party
Yeah.
season is going to be from spring until fall, because it'll be
Yeah.
possible to be
Our
outside.
roaring 20s are coming.
That's right, the Roaring Twenties are coming. But yeah, if you're able to be outside, then you're
Mhm.
going to feel a whole lot more confident about dancing a foot away from a stranger, and not thinking to yourself, you know, that sweat that maybe is on their body is not dance induced, and that
Yep.
you know, there's there's that idea that maybe there is a party season. Could you imagine that, where like
Oh yeah, it's coming.
we're like bears, party bears, you know?
We're hibernating right
Yeah,
now.
we're hibernating right now, and then be like, okay, hibernation season's over. Let's go, and we're all green lights. Yeah,
Yep. Oh
right.
yeah, absolutely.
Tell me, what is it that you feel that was really missed out? If you could think back, our last time we were together on Utility Room, do you feel that what was missed? Because I'm saying this obviously with a straight face. I'm not trying to be like, I don't, I'm not fishing. I genuinely don't know the answer. Do you feel that there was something about where we were going last time that we didn't cover? What was super, like, a hot button that you wish we could have hit?
Well, there's a lot. It was funny that I've actually watched that old episode because I just like hearing myself speak. I've watched it a couple times, and we covered a lot of stuff. We covered a great deal of stuff, but there's so much more that we didn't that I wish we got to. So that's why I'm glad that I'm back doing it again.
If
Um,
you know, this isn't going to be the end. I mean, we got to have Return of the Jedi demonic, right? There's going to be a third. There'll be a third chapter.
Maybe
Yeah.
let's try and get it in. We can do it. Clock's ticking.
I don't know, man. We're already at 9:37. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. One
I'm
thing
just thinking to
that
myself, if you were
I,
listening to the
I noticed
podcast,
that
someone's like 9:37. I have no idea what the fuck that means.
exactly. It's
Right.
37 minutes into the podcast.
It's 37. There we
So
go. Thank you.
yeah, you gotta be relative. I learned that from Don Burns when we did. You remember at One Groove, because we were an internet radio station that broadcast around the world. Your time zone is irrelevant because somebody might be listening somewhere else. So you had to be, you had to do like relative times and nothing date specific.
So I got
So
to tell you, I feel like there should be an episode of Utility Room that's strictly dedicated to OneGroove.com and Iceberg.
yeah,
Uh,
that was so far ahead of their time, like
it,
so
it was
far.
literally like I can't remember. Was it John was the guy that was running it? I can't remember the guy's name that was running
Oh
the whole operation. But yes, clearly he saw what was going to be
yeah,
and did it
it was
and
epic.
did it. Yeah, it was just I mean we were getting paid per hour.
That was the shocking part.
It was like a real job.
That
You know what I
I
mean?
was like honestly, like it wasn't crazy money, but it was something. The fact
No,
that they even offered to pay was like,
actually, I take that back. Yes, it was. I mean, I'm not going to rub it in your face. I'm not going to say what I got
oh,
paid per
you
hour.
might have got more than me. That's fine. But
I'm just going to say, like in consideration, like I mean, I
yeah,
was what 20 years old. I don't
mhm,
know, and like I was getting a paycheck for turning up somewhere and playing music, but not in front of anybody. Like there was no,
yeah.
no one was, it wasn't
I
that.
um I played a couple times guest spots on Marty's show. Marty had a show on Marty McFly had a show
Marty
on,
had the biggest show. How about
yeah,
that? Marty
yeah. His
McFly
show
had the
was
biggest show on OneGroove.com.
yeah.
100%. He had sponsors for the show. He was giving away bongs and all kinds of smoking apparatus. I can't remember who was sponsoring him at the time, but one of the
Yeah, it was
bong companies. Yeah, and I think he even had
yeah.
an info line for his show, and was he on the radio? I think he was one of the guys who was on the radio, and the phone line was just busy.
I oh yeah, I think he was. He and I both made it to actual on air. So the way that started was I did a couple slots on his show, um, and I remember running into Don somewhere, and he's like, "Hey, we're trying to expand. We had like too much house, I think, at the time. Marty's show is really popular. We're thinking about doing another break show. Do you want to do one?" Like, yeah, of course I do. It's like, cool. Come on in, and we'll figure it out, and we'll talk about it. So we talked about it, and he put me on Wednesday nights from 2 till 4 in the morning, and that was fine. So I did 2 till 4, and I remember it was so epic. I was on after Mark Oliver and before Deadly Headley. I am sandwiched between two of my heroes.
Right, yeah,
I had
legend
I
and
had the best
legend,
time.
right?
Yeah,
Right.
I was in. This was amazing. Plus, that One Groove studio was my favorite place to play. It was just the perfect studio. Everything just sounded perfect in there. But I had the best time in there. Um, and then I remember when Don called me up. It's like, hey, we're going to switch to we're going to be able to do live to air on 89.5. He sent me all of the new verbiage that we had to say online and stuff, or on the radio. And he's like, because your show, he moved a bunch of shows around to accommodate, but mine stayed. And I was very happy about that. So you're going to be on the radio as well as on the internet. So be ready. I'm like, okay. And that was a lot of fun. And I remember one night in particular, the one night that stands out. I had a 2-hour show, so I'd sometimes bring a guest in. But what I would do, because I was on Wednesdays, is I used to go to Limelight first. I'd go to Limelight, hang out there for until like 1:30, and then just drive down the street to the radio station, and I do my show. It was the best. It was the best deal. The problem was
It
the
is
one
only
night
funny to
that
me because I remember Limelight Wednesdays and the Gong Show that it was.
yeah, we covered that extensively in the
Yeah,
last
Gong
episode,
Show.
but it was epic.
Yeah.
But I remember the one night that sticks out in my head, and I know that there's a recording of it somewhere, and I've heard it once. But I remember going to Limelight, and some special event, it was a birthday or something, was going on, and I got hammered. And Dave Sadler was going to be my guest, and he was also there. He also got hammered. We were so drunk, and then somebody poked me. Is like, hey, uh, don't you have a radio show to do? And I look at my watch. It's like 1:45. Like, okay, we gotta go. Where's Dave? Grab Dave. Like, get in a cab. We go down the street. We get in the studio. We are stumbling drunk, and we get on the air. And I am slurring like a drunken sailor. Uh, Dave was quiet on normal days, so he was just extra quiet. But like musically, it was a great show, mixing perfect. But when we got on the
Oh, what?
mic,
Yeah.
oh my
So you'd
God, it
say
was
yourself.
sloppy. And I remember there's actually when I heard it, and I remember the night specifically, there was a point where I was so drunk in the middle of me talking to Dave, I tripped over something and fell down.
Oh,
And it was one of those slow motion drunk falls, like, oh, I'm falling, falling, I'm falling,
you mean
I'm
you
falling.
thought it was slow motion?
No, I heard the recording. It was.
Okay.
But yeah, that radio show was amazing, and I loved every minute of it. And like I said, the fact that they actually paid us to do it, I would have been more than happy to do that for free. It was the best time.
You know,
Yeah,
it's
it was
just crazy to think that there was an actual internet radio
so far ahead of the time, man.
company, and it was a whole floor of an office building,
It was an actual old radio station. That was the
full
old
staff. I don't know
CFNY.
what was 60, 70 people were working on the floor. I don't. There was offices,
It
cubicles.
wasn't that many.
Well,
But
no,
there was a lot.
there was
It
different.
was
Well, there was,
fully
but
staffed.
yeah, the back. What about the back room? Like after the elevator, if you went the other way. I'm not talking about the hallway where all the studios were, and Don
Yeah,
and
those are just the offices. There weren't that many people,
it
but
felt like
the
there was. I
fact
don't
that it
know.
had a full-time staff for an internet radio station was amazing. Hubs, actually, DJ Hubs was one of the engineers there. He moved out to Vancouver. He's one of the best DJs I know.
Is he not in the
Um,
Flatlands right now?
no, that's where he was from,
Oh, okay.
but he's in Vancouver now. Before the pandemic, he was killing it. Like he's a pro DJ. He works in a record store. He's living the life, and his mixes are outstanding. So I'm a big fan of Hubs.
He's still at it. I think I follow him on Instagram. He's
Oh
like
yeah,
he's like
yeah,
he's
he's
like
still
the
at it.
45 vinyl master right now.
Yep, yep,
Or I'm
yep.
assuming he is. I don't have anyone else in my timeline that's constantly exhibiting the vinyl.
No, that's true. He is. But yeah, One Groove, that was a great time. I was very sad when it shut down. Um, I actually got poached to go over to the new Global Groove at the Chin Building, and that was just awkward.
I did too.
That was really awkward. It was like did you have the same sort of setup where you had to pre-mix your shows and you just went and talked over them?
Yes.
Yeah, I had to do that. I thought that was weird. But because like literally you're just sitting in a professional radio studio by yourself, just like waiting for the time to talk.
So I didn't have that experience.
Oh no,
No, I didn't. I had
what
I
did you
had
do?
I had a really good experience at Chin, and our show became like the Jello show was like number 4 on Thursdays or something in Toronto.
Hmm.
It was really great. Uh, and I'll tell you what my end of it is. What ended up happening. So um, I had a friend of mine who was like really into partying. Wasn't trying to be a DJ. Wasn't trying to be a promoter. Just loved being on the dance floor and being out and having a great time, and had really great energy. So her name was Anne. I brought her on the show with me, and I also
Mm.
had someone else that was in the control booth. Her name was Karen. Her last name Baudet, and I'm still following her as well on social media. I called her Bodacious because of her last name Baudet, and so it was me and the girls in the studio, and like Karen was manning Karen was manning the phone lines and handing me the calls. Sometimes me and Anne would be on the call together with people who were calling in on the show. So
Mm.
it was a really good time.
Yeah, I was strictly like, and that was still in the middle of the time when I was like 1,000% about the music. So I would just every so often just give some background on the music. I wasn't making an entertaining show. Mine was just a total music show.
That's
Um,
entertaining. Come on.
to the right audience. And actually, I found out that so when I moved over to Global Groove, my slot moved up an hour, so I was 3 till 5 in the morning.
Okay.
And really, at the end of the day, I didn't care. Being on the radio made a difference. It mattered. So as long as you could have that credit, then great. So I did it. But I remember a lot of the phone calls that I would get at that hour were people that were working for like shipping companies and warehouses.
Yes, us too.
And I thought that was amazing. Like
Yeah.
I would always give shout outs to the UPS sorting facility. Like it was
That's awesome.
because I would always get calls from those guys on their breaks. They would have
Yeah,
they
you
would
know
have
what
their
that'd be
headphones
like
on.
if you're in the sorting room and all of a sudden you hear yourselves called out. You know, like, for a
Yeah,
second, everyone's like, "Yeah!" You can
yeah.
hype up a work scenario in a room. You know what ended up
It was
happening was
fun.
for me on my end was that I would in between stuff shout out parties
Mm.
and in this instance I actually said something about tribe. Nothing negative. It was obviously a promotion in one way or another.
Right.
And the next day, I got a phone call from the radio station saying, "You can't do that." I went, "Why?"
Oh,
They said because they need to pay for advertisements if you're going to do that's how we sell
no
ads.
free ads.
So
Yep.
so go ahead and get your contacts going and here's the contact number for our ad person and you can go and I think he even offered a percentage of the ad sales to me or
Yep.
something. I just remember like I was like
I had the same deal. I never got any though.
so I said, you realize this is FM radio? They're like, yeah. I'm like, you're literally in the business of giving shit away for free. And they're like, yeah, and we sell ads so that we can do that. I went, that's your job. I said, my job is hi, awesome content. And they were like, yeah, you can't talk about stuff unless they're paying anymore. And I went, I quit. And I
Oh,
remember that there was an awkward pause on the phone. It was like, listen, just we can work around. I was like, no, really, goodbye. And that was that.
yeah.
And I was just like I couldn't understand it. And I'll tell you something. I'll give you a vent right now as well. Which is this is totally not about you. This is everything about me. Um, uh, when promoters would, I remember the first time a promoter messaged me and said, "I need you to get your guest list together, and you can only have this many free, and I need you to invite this many for reduced." And I went, "No." And the promoter again was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't do that." I said, "I'm DJing." They're like, "Yeah, you get your guest list together." I went, "No, I'm DJing. That means that disc jockey, like I'm playing the music." I mean, you have promoters? He's like, "Well, yeah, of course we got promoters." Like, call them up, make sure they do their job, because I know that I'm going to be doing mine. I don't want to sit there and be looking at your list at 11 o'clock to make sure that my friends made it inside. You know what I mean? Like, are you out of your skull right now? If that's the
Yep.
case, if that's my job, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're the guy that turned the key in the venue, and now it's all me. Because if that's the case, guess what? I want the door. Okay, I want the door. If that's the case,
Yeah.
yeah. This is for all y'all. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it proud too. There's nothing that I will ever take back about this. If you're a performer, right, if you're doing any type of performance at all, and someone that is paying you to be there comes at you and tells you that you're responsible for putting people in the door is yours. That's that. The door is yours. It's not theirs. All right. I vented. That's my spiel. Come at me.
Hmm.
Are you a disagreement?
Um, depends on the time.
What does
So
that mean? The time of night?
no, the time of like the era.
Oh,
So yes, to a point. So
okay.
being on both sides,
Sure. Come at me.
I can understand. So here's the thing about
Yes, I would
here's the
love to
thing
hear the
about today.
perspective. Okay.
Well, not today, but today in general. Um, like I said a few times, and I'll keep saying it over and over again about the idea of concert culture. Um, the problem with parties now is that the opening DJs, if you're not the headliner, like if in that instance you were the headliner, then absolutely you're totally within your rights. Um, in the if you're not the headliner though, um, it's gotten to the point where the opening lineup doesn't matter because, and I actually tested this theory, and I was so sad to prove myself right. So there was a party when I was doing a lot of stuff for Destiny, when I was helping run their events. Um, there was a particular night, and I noted this a lot, that if we published the time slots for the event, if we said that the headliner's on at 1 o'clock, the club was dead until 12:30, because that's when people would show up for the headliner, not for the party. And there was one party where I realized that, there was this problem that nobody cares about the opening DJs, or the earlier DJs, when I got a call one night and our opener was stuck in traffic, or something happened and they were going to be late. Nobody else was around. So I grabbed my phone and I plugged it into the mixer and I played some, drum and bass set that I had on my phone. And the people that did show up early, obviously there was a couple, they danced. They had a good time. They didn't care that I was just playing a mix. So, the problem now is that, and not you specifically, you're at a different level, but when you're giving that advice to the people that are just starting out, they're not there for you. And if you're not contributing to the attendance of the night, what's the difference between you and somebody that will?
I think to myself, I would never hire my accountant to build my new kitchen.
No, but that analogy doesn't work. So the
I think it
difference
does,
is,
though. I'm going to
no,
disagree with you.
and I'll tell you
Okay.
why. I'll tell you why
All
it doesn't
right.
work. Because especially it goes back to supply and demand. So there is so many DJs, so many DJs. So obviously, if you're at a level where you are so skilled and so popular that people are going to see your name on the flyer and it's like, I'm going to see that person, then yeah, that doesn't apply to you. If you're not, if you're just starting off, if you're just like just another DJ, there's hundreds of them, probably thousands of them. So what's the difference between you or the next guy or the next guy or the next guy, especially when the promoter knows that nobody is coming for you? I can literally play a song off my phone or mix off my phone and have the same impact.
Have you ever decorated a room? Let's say, for example, you were a restaurant owner and you were responsible for how you were going to get the room the way you wanted it to look. You don't want your restaurant to look the way every other restaurant looks. You certainly wouldn't want to go ahead and open an individual mom and pop spot that's not franchised. It's Dan's restaurant. You specialize in rice dishes, okay? And so here we are going to this place. You want to have little grains of rice all on the wall, up and down the wall. This is what you want. Maybe even has like a lever that you can go and you can depress on the wall, and you fill up a cup of rice, and that's the rice that you want. And they make you that rice right there and then. That would be kind of cool. I'm saying it right now. Here you go. Someone on the internet, all yours. And so, why would I want purple walls instead of green walls?
That's unrelated analogy.
It's. I don't think it is. So if I
And I'll
want
tell you
someone,
why. Hold it. Wait. I'll tell you why that's unrelated.
I let you go untethered. You got to give me a sec. So
hold on.
All right, Dan. Nope, come at me.
So your analogy that you just said,
yeah,
implies that the person is already in the door.
Okay.
The problem that the scene has now is getting those people in the door early.
All right.
So because they're coming for the headliner, not for you.
Okay.
Or not for the openers.
Right. So with that being said, they're coming into the rice restaurant for the rice, no matter what, right? That's why they're there. They're there for the rice. Now, you may have some pot stickers on the menu as well, and some special dip for the pot stickers. Something delicious, okay? And no one's there for the pot stickers. No one even knows the pot stickers are there until they go into the rice restaurant. And then you look at the menu and you go, huh, pot sticker, okay? So if I'm the person that runs the restaurant, I want to make sure that when someone comes in, not only are they going to have a memorable experience, but there's going to be an actual thing that's a detail that is specific to recall. That detail might be a purple wall. If I'm going ahead and I'm trying to create an evening for somebody where they're going to have an experience that they can recall, this is their adventure. It's their Saturday night adventure. It's a big deal, all right? For a lot of people, you know, work hard all week long. Saturday night is the time. This is it. I want to let go. I want to let loose. Fuck it all. It's time. It's Saturday. Let's go. Okay? Let's go. All right? If that's the case, right, that person is going out regardless, and they see D-Monic is the headliner, they want to go. All right, 1,000 people want to come see you. All right, you have selected, either you or the venue has selected somebody to come on before you, not because the person's going to bring a lot of people inside. You're already doing that. All right, what this person's going to do is he's going to set up the evening so that when you do come on, it makes sense. The flow is good. It feels right, so that the evening is coherent. So when you're done and it's Sunday afternoon and you're waking up, you go, that Saturday night was amazing, and here's why. And the opening DJ is going to be a part of that equation. All right, if you show up 10 minutes into the D-Monic set, you know, at 12:10, you've already started, then you've missed it. You're showing up and you're getting you're standing on the shoulders of the party right there and then. You're showing up and you're standing on the shoulders of it. Everyone that was on the dance floor and all the staff, everyone that's been working, including whoever the DJ was that opened and in the first 10 minutes of your set, everyone went and put a piece of that puzzle together, assembled it, and then you're showing up and you're seeing the puzzle. You go, that's a great fucking picture. You go, absolutely, we just built that. Come on in. So you're getting it. But if you show up earlier in the evening and you're watching the puzzle get assembled, oh, you're part of it now. This adventure gets recalled. This is called curation. And if it was irrelevant, there would be no such thing as museums.
Are we going to spend the whole show on this? Because I could go for 2 hours.
I'm not going to.
So hold on. Let me just answer that.
I made my point. I can't push it any.
I'm going to counter that. I'm going to counter that, and I'm going to
and then we'll go. Sure.
And then we'll go on something else.
Yeah.
So
and then we'll go.
So here's the problem. So that what you just described there was 1,000% how things used to be.
Okay.
So we discussed this previously. How like back in the day, those Pleasure Force parties and the Better Days parties and stuff, those were curated events because those people went to the event and the promoters knew that they were going to get X amount of people. So they wanted to put on the best show possible. But that doesn't work anymore. The promoters do it to a point because, like, especially the old school ones, like the ones like Destiny, nothing else comes to mind. But like the promoters that came from the old days, or remember how the old days were done, they do that still. But at the end of the day, like everything that you described was correct. But the problem is that, yes, those opening DJs were part of the experience, but it's like if a tree falls in the forest, like if you weren't there for it, were they? And the problem is from a promoter perspective is there's a psychology as well. Would you agree that a room with 50 people in it, like a 500-person room with 50 people in it, is better than a 500-person room with 10 people in it?
How I'm going to answer
that's a yes/no question.
It's so here's the answer is actually maybe. I don't know if it's just yes or no. That's very polarized the way you want it to be yes no. And here's
I know that it's a yes.
My answer is actually long-winded. It's not one word. Go ahead.
Let me expound on it.
Expound.
I'm expounding. I think that's the right word. I hope that's the right word. Let me know in the comments if that's the right word.
No.
So the reason that promoters now are expecting those opening DJs to bring people is so that there's people to build that atmosphere early. Because if there aren't people there early, then everyone's going to show up at 12:30, and then the party really starts at 12:30, even though the doors open at 10. So it's super awkward to be in a big club with 10 other people around. It's much better with 50 people around. So that's why a lot of the events that you see today where they expect the opening DJs to bring people out is because, okay, I want to curate this night. I want a house DJ before the headliner. I have a list of 1,000 house DJs that I can pick from. Who's actually going to bring a couple people out so that the room doesn't look dead before the people show up for the headliner?
I
You,
think
not you. Okay, next one. How about you?
I hear everything you're saying, and I think on the idea of remuneration for your efforts, it probably makes a whole lot of sense.
Now that's a different story though.
In regards to
And this is
passion
actually
and
this.
ideology, it probably doesn't so much. Would you agree?
So then there's the other point of that I hear a lot of people, and I've talked to a few people about, where they're like, don't play for free. And people get hung up on money as being the only thing of value. So one of the things that really worked for me, and people don't even know this, that even during the good times when I was playing 6, 7 nights a week, there was a lot of times where I played for free, but I got something in return. So there was some parties that I just wanted to be on. And they're like, sorry, we don't have the budget for you. Like, tell you what, I will play for free, but I want a good time slot, or I want good flyer positioning, or I want to hang out with the headliner, or like there was always something else of value other than money. But these days everything's just, if it's money or nothing. There was lots of parties that I went to just because I knew that was a party that I played at for free or very cheap, um, just so I could be there in front of a crowd that doesn't know me, and I could hand out a bunch of CDs to them. Or there was like a higher profile party that didn't have the budget for me when all things were said and done, but I'm like, okay, I'll play for half price, but I want to be like B level on the flyer. Like there was always something else to negotiate with, but everyone's just money, 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 money. So bigger picture thinking.
You ever see a movie called 24-Hour Party People?
Yep.
Steve Coogan's in it. It's probably like my favorite film that he's been in.
Mm.
I like that movie. My favorite part is when he went to go see the Sex Pistols play for the first time. Do you remember the scene? Do you know how
It's
many
been
people?
many years since I've seen
Do
it.
you know how many people were at the first Sex Pistols show?
Mm-hmm.
Less than 20.
Mm-hmm. You remember? Do you remember when Skrillex played Wrong Bar?
I don't. I don't.
I
And
do.
that's because I was
There was
just
about 50 people there.
right. I wasn't in between 2008 and 2015. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I actually got rid of my condo and had just a storage locker. I had two packed suitcases in the storage locker, and then I would literally wheel one in that was dirty clothes, pull the fresh one out, close the locker door, and leave Toronto again. It sounds terrible to say it the way I guess I would say it. I mean, and it certainly, anyways, I didn't have a fixed address, and I was just touring.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little blurry. So there was a lot of stuff that was like I'd come back and play in Toronto. I'd play at Footwork 3, 4 times a year, which was like seasonal, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I remember like Joel would call me up, be like, "Where am I flying you from this time?" Like because I would just be I don't know where. So I missed a lot of stuff that was happening in Toronto, especially 2010 to 2015, especially. I mean, I
Yeah,
lived
that
in
was.
Whistler for almost a full year.
Mm.
And I think I played in Toronto over the course of that year, maybe 2 or 3 times, and that was it. I did fly back in once though and hang out with Adam K and BT for a few days, which was pretty cool.
Mm.
I got lost where we were at with what we were talking about. Not exactly. I remember you were on a certain point about stuff. I you know what it is? I think that there was an excitement. I feel like I'm not quite sure where I definitely see excitement that's happening, like Disco Donnie. Do you know who this is in the United States? And
Does ring a bell.
if I say Insomniac to you, then I say Pasquale. Okay, so then there are larger than life characters
Mm-hmm.
who are in the industry that are definitely. And I mean, there's no way you can't look at anything that Insomniac does and not just go, yeah. You know, everything. Like even recently, I saw out. I think it was in California. It wasn't a drive-in party. It was like a drive-through, and I
Hmm.
believe they had a bunch of art pieces, illuminated pieces
Yep.
that you could literally pack your car with your fam or friends and drive through and have this immersive experience. And I believe that there's music playing, of course, at the same time and stuff. So and then it's just I don't know if I would call that totally innovative, but at least it's a forward-moving direction when stuff stopped. I mean, clearly, Insomniac, even though they're in the business of doing parties,
Hmm.
they clearly like to do parties. Otherwise, they would just keep
No,
doing them.
they like to create experiences.
Listen. I just talked about this recently. Without the idea of the adventure, there's what is there? And this is why I was talking to you about what I was talking about into curation. Be like, well, that's the way it used to be. And then I'm bringing up the characters. Who in Toronto is the promoter character? Ah, ah. You should have the answer.
Charles.
You should have the
No,
answer.
I
Like
have the Charles. I was looking for. I had the answer. I was looking for a better one.
Charles is an absolute, I like boom powerhouse, right? Like just incredible. Yes, but at the
Yeah.
same time, do you see Charles when you go out to some party? Do you see him? Is he out? I'm not saying that he's invisible. I'm not saying this. I'm just saying there's you see this person.
Hmm.
You see Jen
No,
Star.
generally
Jen
not.
Jen Star. She'll make you famous.
Yep. Used to see her everywhere.
And that was literally the tagline. I don't think that she created that tagline. I think somebody
She
else
did.
gave it to her. I didn't ask her. I had Jen on the show. I didn't
Yeah.
ask
No, you
about
did.
this.
You did ask her, and she did answer that.
Did she?
Yeah. So somebody else
Oh,
gave her that. I forget who
thank
was
you.
it. Was it Deco? I think it might have been
This
Deco.
is proof now that I don't watch the utility rooms. Afterwards, I'm like, I swear I'm
I
like,
watch
I
them all
don't
the
know what I
time. They're
said.
great. I love them.
Thank you, great. I'm like, I did it. I need to move past. You know what I do? I create the excerpts from the show that I post onto Instagram
Yeah. And
because
that's
I
it.
can't. And then yeah, that's what I catch, and then that's yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I'm
Yeah.
saying that
So
this was a colorful character. You didn't just see Jen on the street. You didn't just see Jen talking about stuff. You'd go to the bar. Next thing you know,
yep.
you might be doing a shot with her. You might be
Yep.
booging next to your friends, and then look over like, oh fuck, what up, Jen Star? Like that happened. Okay,
Yep.
and then you were at her party. You knew it was her party. Her name was on it.
Yep.
So that's what I'm saying. Like where
So there were a lot of personalities like that. I can't think of one off the top of my head because I'm not as immersed as I used to be. And obviously, even though I am
I
still
have
like,
an answer, but I'm not quite sure if it's still. I'm not because I don't know. That's why I don't know. I mean I know with the blogosphere stuff and
mhm.
embrace the Jonathans were doing some big stuff as well. That was happening. I
Yeah, they
remember that.
were.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
That
So during that time, there were a lot of big personalities like the Gen Stars and the Franciscos and the other guys that did like they wherever they were, that's where you wanted to be because that's where the hype was. And
mhm.
there were a lot like ADD was like that. There's a couple other
No.
people. They're escaping my memory, but there was a lot of big personalities. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any for right now because I'm not that immersed. I know there aren't, and I think like I was going to say, even though I still have my foot in sort of in the industry, I should, but none come to mind, and I think that's what's missing today, is that there isn't those big personalities that we used to have.
I understand that if you were on the dance floor and you wanted to get involved, that the first thing that comes to mind is to be behind that mixing board, and like, hey,
Hmm.
it, there's I again going and referencing a different movie now, which is Groove. I think about the nod at the end of the movie. I think about the promoter getting the nod. Remember Groove? The big notion was I do it for the nod. I get that nod. So the
Mm,
partiers looking at the promoter and like, and so I wonder is that not exciting anymore? that's the question. I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. Is the excitement for that diminished? Is the only excitement looking behind the mixing board and seeing that? And it makes me wonder.
Are you talking about the experience of the party?
No, I'm talking about the actual transition from dance floor into industry. And you're
Oh.
saying when we talk about the character that's missing. So I'm saying that the characterization that I think that is immediate that most people would want to go forward towards would be DJ. I
Yeah,
mean,
because that seems to
and
be the
probably not
easiest thing.
anymore.
And during that Bloghouse electro type time, um, that was prevalent everywhere. There were so many DJs popping up because just like that, they went to the parties, they saw what the DJ was doing, they wanted to do that. Music was free. Got it off the blogs. They got a laptop. Then hey, cool, I'm ready to go. I'm going to DJ now. That happened all the time. Too much. I was if I had an opinion. Um, but yeah, but then at the end of the day, people that nobody really persevered. Nobody really once they got into the behind the scenes and saw how freaking hard it is. Not a lot of people stuck around. Like on the top 40 side, there's a lot of promoters that have big followings that do big events, but yeah, no personalities that come to mind on the dance side these days, at least. There used to be.
I'm saying I'm thinking of Toronto specifically. I would love if
So am
somebody
I.
in somebody in the comments corrected me and educated on or highlighted something that I'm unaware of. That's probably mostly what it is that I'm unaware and maybe you're unaware and then maybe we'll learn about it. But I
Mhm.
think to myself that I would have tripped upon it online. I'm not like
Yeah, me too.
I'm I'm not
Because I
super
still I
scroll
still keep my
master.
ear to the ground. The fact that I no names come to mind is actually kind of sad.
Right. Well, and so this is part of the conversation. I'm sorry. I'm jumping back into it when I said we'd move on, but this is what I'm talking about. Like that's not my job. Whether I'm headlining or opening up for somebody, Dan, that's not my job. That's just not my job, man. That's
No, and
not my job.
that's
That's somebody else's job. And the conversation that got created, and I'm not quite sure where the conversation got created, but the conversation that got created that it is the performer's job to physically bring people into the venue. And that's their responsibility, not just their job, but their responsibility. How this became a conversation is ridiculous. So much so that sometime around 2017, I stopped doing guest list. It's
mhm.
actually in my contract. That's that. And I thought to I had to say to a few of my friends as well, and then a few of my friends, be like, if you're calling me up and ask me for guest list, I'm going to come to you and ask you for whatever it is you do. I'm going to need something from your work. Otherwise, fuck off. Okay? Like, if you can't cover the cover, like, I don't know what to tell you. Stay home. You probably
Mhm.
shouldn't be out, dude. You probably should save some money. You know what I mean? Like, if it's going to be
Yeah,
a problem to cover, then, you probably have, and be like, well, dude, like, it's support. Be like, that's actually the opposite of what it is leeching. That's
yeah,
not support, right? It's
yeah.
leeching, right?
So
And
on that perspective, I agree. I'm the same way. It's like if when people, the worst thing that you can do to me is ask me for guest list for like a $10 party. That's just
yeah,
embarrassing.
that is
I'm
yeah,
embarrassed for
that's
you.
Awful. Yeah, if
So
someone's
yeah,
listening, that don't do it.
don't do that.
You're calling somebody up, even if you're really good friends, are like, ugh, because it's a
Yeah.
pain in the ass. Never mind. You know what it is. Every time I step up, even if I've got 3 shows that are back to back, and I'm saying, even here with Utility Room, when I'm performing, now I put a lot into the sets. I love what I do, and I'm hard on myself. My best and worst critic simultaneously. Um,
Mhm.
I'm not thinking about what's happening with whether people are at the door. If my phone, I'd be in the middle of my set and somebody text me like, I'm stuck at the door. You misspelled my name. It doesn't match my ID. And I finished saying, and they're like, oh, it got worked out, man. Sorry for blowing you up. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, honestly, like, really?
Yeah. No,
It,
that stuff I can relate to. There's
it's
the
it's
business
just
side. We'll agree to disagree.
Sure, no, that's okay, and bless us for it. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
wish the world was had more conversations that did go this way, where we, because you're right, we do disagree. Like
Mhm.
like I get that this is a business, but at the same time, we're talking about music. I mean, this is a passion for so many people, and it's one of the reasons why the industry is so transient, Dan, because people's feelings do get hurt, and they're like,
Mhm.
"Fuck this, I'm out." All right,
Yeah, and
so
a lot of people also forget about the business part of the music business. And then like there's like the artists and the business people, and there's the handful of people that are in the middle that can overlap the two, like a giant Venn diagram of business and art. And yes, the artists tend to get emotional, and the business people tend to focus on money, and then everything just sort of collides, and um, it's tough. It's a tough balance.
art and commerce have been at war with each other since poop was brown.
Yeah, and I've been on both sides, so I get it
Yeah.
more than
Yeah.
most, I
No, I
think.
mean,
But
you know
yeah,
what? I'll tell you what. I get it too. It's not like I don't. But I
yeah,
also but I also think to myself again what I was saying is that I don't look at my accountant to go and renovate my kitchen. Okay? So
yeah.
if
That
you're if
analogy
you're
doesn't work though.
I
But
I feel
let's
I
let's
listen,
let's move on.
I feel it does. I feel it does. I'm
That's
not
fine.
I
Agreeing to disagree.
because I'm not a promoter.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I think if I was, we'd probably have like 10,000 views per show.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But
Well,
I'm not.
yeah, no.
So we don't.
But the people that are watching, we love you.
Hey, and that's what I'm talking about. I could have the
Yep.
room full of 10 people. Legends start that way. That's why I brought up the Sex Pistols scene in the movie, right?
Yeah,
They
everyone
became
starts
legends.
somewhere though. Like, and I like you've probably been to enough of the early Dead Mouse appearances. Look at him now. Skrillex had Base Mentality for 50 people. Look at him now, or look at him then. I haven't seen him now, but there's lots of everyone starts somewhere.
Hmm. Hmm. Is it the patience that's the is that like a thing? Is it a prob? Being patient,
I
waiting
think
for.
I think well, it's a matter of it's patience and passion. It depends on your motivation. Like guys like Skrillex just like doing what he did, and he didn't actually care. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Um, he just really doesn't care. 50 people, 5,000 people, 50,000 people doesn't matter to him. He just liked to do what he did, and his management took care of everything else. He's like, where am I going next? Cool, let's go play there. Um, everyone wants that level because that's the best. Like especially if you're an artist, you just want to be told where to play and just show up and play. You don't care how many people are there. But yeah.
Dan, it was lovely debating with you.
Oh, I got more. Come at me,
No, no,
bro.
no, no. I'm sincere about what I said too. Like,
Yeah.
because it's not the first time that we've done it. It's really the first time we've done it on Utility Room. And this is, and I wish conversations on the internet were somewhat like this. You know what I mean? Like we're
Yeah.
clearly, you're on the one end of it, and I'm on the other end. But I'll still hug you right now. It's
Yeah. It's fun. It's always good to air it, especially if people are watching. Maybe they heard some opinions that they never considered before, and that's all that
I'll,
that's all that matters.
100%. I feel like it's possible even now that you may say something in regards, to what we are talking about, even though we clearly are going to move on. But that would make me stop for a second and be like, yeah, my perspective is my perspective because of my experience,
That's
right?
right.
My
That's right.
experience of my phone blowing up while I'm in the club, either trying to get ready for my set, and an acquaintance, getting frustrated because somehow something didn't work out, which has got nothing to do with me. I may have
I've been there.
submitted the name, and they're frustrated that they can't get in, and I'm trying to do something and be like, this is the last thing that I probably want to deal with right now is that you're stuck outside and that I've got to figure it out. Like,
And you know what
holy
sucks
shit.
about that? You know what sucks about that part of the business is that that brings a level of frustration that causes problems down the road. I'll give you an example of that. There was I don't know. I spend way too much time on the internet, and there was
No
some
kidding.
thread.
Where are we right now? I was just.
We're on the internet. I know. But there was some thread going on, and something happened, and somebody mentioned something about me, and then somebody responded like, "Oh, that guy's an asshole," and generally not wrong. But I'm like, wait a minute, I know that guy. Like, I know that guy. Why is he saying that? So I actually messaged him, and I was like, hey, what's that about? Like, what do you? Where did that come from? It's like, oh, I just remember this one time at the club where I said hi to you and you just like said hi and ran away. Like you just like brushed me off. I'm like, that's weird. Tell me more about that night. It's like, oh well, it was at Republic. So when I was doing those Friday nights at Republic, um, and you were rushing by, and I stopped you to say hello, and you said hello, and you just ran off. I was like, well, what was I doing at the time? Like, well, you had a mop in your hand. Like, yeah, okay, I remember the night. Somebody had just dropped a whole bottle of vodka in the middle of the dance floor. I was going to clean it up. I was kind of busy, but because I didn't stop and say like, find out about your day, because I had a little more of a pressing concern. I'm an asshole. But yeah, those types of things. Like you're preparing for a set and your phone's going crazy, but somebody at the door and you got to go deal with that instead of doing the thing. But if you don't deal with that, then you're an asshole. Like just no winning. So I can totally relate with your frustration on that particular example.
See, Dan, if you
Yeah.
would have had a promoter doing the job in the nightclub, it would have been your problem.
I was the promoter. So yeah. So that was actually, I think that was probably the hardest adjustment when I started throwing parties, was wearing both hats. Um, and I think, and I hope at least, that all of my artists or all of my DJs were taken care of well, because I know how I wanted to be taken care of. So I made sure that they were taken care of the same way. Same thing when I was helping out with Destiny, and other events that I've helped out with over the past. Like, I know how I want to be treated, so I try to treat them in the same way. Um, but wearing, I understand the frustrations and I see both sides. Yeah. Although that being said, working at the government had its own sets of nightmares. But it was like the payoff was so good. Like the parties were so good. It
I
was
there
worth all of the frustration.
in between 2006 and 2010, government was like,
Earlier actually, it was 4. So I was actually going through my pictures because I used to take pictures at all my events, and I was going back, and I think it was like 2004 we really started there. Um, and the way that came up was actually kind of funny. But the long and the short of it is, one of the bookers at the government, Jose, was trying to do these um, weird Tuesday night breaks parties at System that nobody knew about, because the breaks community was so very tight knit, that like all of a sudden I get this flyer. It's like, hey, Icy's playing at System on tomorrow night. Like, what? Like, how did I not know about that? And I called up people like, did you know about this? I didn't know about that. Did you know about this? Nobody knew about it. And then we show up and there's like 30 people there. Like, this is not a good look. Like us as a community have really worked hard on this scene. What the hell? So we just started, like, it was like a union. We just started like boycotting these events, and it was just like we just started causing so much chaos. And then out of
what?
nowhere, I
Why?
get
Why? Wait, why?
um so that was during the time when there was, um that we were very protective of the thing that we had all built, and having these big artists like Icy come to Toronto, where our scene is gaining momentum, and play for 20 people is not a good look. Um, they deserve a lot better than that.
First time
So
I saw Armin van Helden, there was 15 people in the room.
was that Eros party?
Yes, it was. Yes, it
Yeah,
was.
yeah. There was a big
Yes.
discussion on that in that Facebook group
Is
about
there
why
what
that
recent?
happened.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, because like that was like the witch doctor, I think, had
yeah,
been like killing our dance floors for 6 months or something, and then
yeah. But there was
someone
a
grabbed.
there was a bigger, more exciting party happening on the same night that took all the people. There's a big discussion about it. But anyway,
Really?
so
Okay.
yeah.
I hadn't seen it. You know, I yeah.
But
Okay.
see, but that actually goes back. That shows some other things that you were so into the music that
Yeah.
you went for Armin van Helden because he put
That's
out
right.
that song that was really good.
That's right.
So,
It
but
wasn't
anyway,
just
so
that. It was also Donkey. I still play Donkey.
yeah,
Donkey.
that's a good tune.
Donkey's actually in my interface right now. If I thought Jules was gonna do that to me on Thursday. If she was gonna be like, "What are the 3 tracks?" Actually, she did, and I didn't say it, but I could have said Donkey. It's in my
Yeah.
interface. I mean, that track
So
is
anyway,
20 years old.
yeah, it's a great song.
Yeah.
So anyway, so they only did a handful, like I think 3 parties at the government, and then I get this phone call from Jose, who I found out was actually doing these parties, and he's like, "Hey, bro, can we talk?" Like, sure. So we met at Buns, actually, right beside Eastern Bloc, and he's like, "Look, I really like the music. Obviously, I'm not involved in the scene, but I want to start doing more break stuff at our bigger events." And this is actually my first time meeting Jose. And it's like, we want to do more break stuff at our events at the government. Would you be interested in helping out? I'm like, absolutely. So he's like, cool, I'll be in touch. And then he gets back to me, I think, what was the first one that we did? Oh no, the first one he put us, or he asked me to book a lineup to complement something at one of the Labor of Loves, and the room was great. It went over great. And it's like, great, let's do this on all the long weekends. I'm like, absolutely, let's absolutely do it. So it was actually the best environment because I had 100% control of that room. Well, 90% control of that room. So it would be like, okay, who do you want at this party? Here's a list of people that I want. He would go to the booking agents, see who's available, grab those people. I would book the locals around it, and then the party would happen. Every long weekend. It was Decadence for Easter.
Labor of Love.
That was Labor Day. So there was Decadence for Easter. There was Freedom for Victoria Day. Um, there
I
was the
remember now.
government anniversary party
Yeah.
on the civic holiday, the August civic holiday. There was no,
The
sorry, no, that was G2.
the gift, which was Boxing Day with Mark. That was like the Mark Oliver
Yeah,
awesome shows.
that was just a one. That was Mark's thing. But there was something, I forget what Canada Day was, G something, and then there was like every month from April to October there was a big event, and that went on for 3 or 4 years. It was the golden goose. It was amazing. Like I would give them a list of headliners I wanted, and they would book them, and then I would curate. To your point, I would curate a lineup around that. If it was like proggy Freeland type breaks, I would bring in Angus Robinson. If it was more funky stuff, Chew or Sadler or Rob sometimes. Yeah, so I would curate those lineups because I knew that we were going to have a crowd regardless. I wanted to give them an experience, the best possible musical experience. But that's old school mentality. But man, there's some good parties.
I
So
don't
many
know if that
memories.
I don't know if that's old school mentality.
It is.
I think that's a mentality that's favored for some, but not by all.
Yeah, and it's favored by the old school people.
I'm gonna again disagree with you.
Very well.
Yeah, we're here.
It's your
We're here.
show. You can disagree with me.
Actually, it's utility room with Jules Bangsworth, so it's not my show.
Up, true. Jules disagrees with you too. No, but man, those government times. Those are great times. You know, the best part about those shows was that they just had total, complete trust in me, and that um, Charles actually loved it. He loved the fact that he had a room at his nights that was different than 4/4 music. I remember we did after a while we did a weekly in Charlie's. I don't know if you ever came to those. Um, so Charlie's was the room that is now or was the gallery before it was the gallery.
Was the
We
gallery the room that was upstairs past the main room?
No, that's the drink.
Right.
Gallery was the one on street level, pretty much on the corner of Jarvis and Queens Quay. It was a smaller room. It was a smaller room. It was in between the orange room and the main room.
There was a room.
Yeah,
Oh,
you go
yes,
down
there
that
was. I
hallway.
played there.
Yeah.
It had
So we
the
did. So we started
animal on
doing.
the
I think
wall.
whatever was in there opened up, and he said like, "Hey, you want to do every Saturday night?" Like, sure. Um, that was a crazy night. I remember one night we came in. It was actually a pretty slow night because it was very cold. I remember it was in the winter, and I remember I walk into the room and there's maybe like 30, 40 people in there, and I see Charles standing in the middle of the dance floor, just like looking around. I'm like, oh shit, Charles is here. This is like the worst night for him to be here. There's only 40 people here. This is bad. And I walk up to him like, Charles, how are you? Like, he looks around. He's like, I like this music. It's good. Yeah, it's different. And then he walked away. And yeah, that's one of the reasons that our room lasted as long as it did, was because um, he liked the variety. Because before then, it was just 8 rooms of 4/4 music, and that's boring. But yeah, it was those government parts were great. I was very sad when it ended. Sad with how it ended too. But anyway, it was
What? Hold on for a sec. I feel like you're brushing by something. What just happened?
what
What had it ended? Why are you saying it was sad how it ended? What ended?
um uh,
Is this something we need to
okay.
not do? It's okay.
Well, actually, no. So this kind of ties in. So ties into the previous conversation that we had. So there's a saying that I love. It's know your role. Um, I had no delusions of grandeur that our rooms at those big mega parties were the primary draw of those parties. Absolutely not. Like the Tiestos, the Armin van Helden or Armin van Buren's, the Carl Coxes, like those guys are the draws. We're just like the third, fourth room that is adding some spice and flavor to your night. So one thing that like a sub type promoter should understand is where they land in that pecking order. So like, do not rock the boat, especially when you have a good thing going. Um, and we had a great thing going. They never argued money for me, and I would always like I would inch it up a bit. Everyone that played got paid well. Um, it was amazing. Like they just gave me a budget and I fit within it, and it was great. I never rocked the boat. The problem was, and we were going strong for up until I'd have to look. I think it was like 2007 ish. Um, yeah, something like that. And then the like my number one priority is I'm not rocking the boat. I'm just going to they're going to give me a budget. I'm going to fit within it. Everything's great. The cash cow is milking. It's great. I love this. Great parties, great money. Everything's great. Great, great, great. And then one day I get a call from Jose, and he's like, "Bro, what's up with your boy?" And I'm like, "Who are you talking about?" And we'll just say,
ABC,
uh,
DJ ABC.
no,
Just
it's okay. So DJ
yes, yeah,
ABC,
better.
um, DJ ABC is causing some problems with the agents that we deal with. Now, anyone that understands how the government works, their relationships with the booking agents is paramount. They have a golden relationship with all of the booking agents. They, like I said, do not want to rock the boat. Um, and I'm like, well, what's going on? It's like, well, DJ ABC has been contacting some of the DJs that we're booking for these upcoming shows and asking them to get DJ ABC on the lineup. So the DJ is going back to the booking agent to say to the booking agent to put it in the contract to put this guy on the lineup, like a Toronto local DJ. And I'm like, okay, that's no good.
Oh. Well, that's
So
interesting. I mean, did they
so
want it? I don't. I don't mean.
did what?
I don't mean government. I mean, did the headliners want this
I
person?
guess, but it wasn't their in their initial ask. It was after the other DJ reached out to them
So what
to
would
ask
happen
to be
is
put
that
on
the
the lineup.
billing would hit out there in the sphere. The billing would hit. This ABC would see the billing, and then ABC would then make the contact.
Yeah, or they would hear before the party was announced that they were booked for
Uh
it,
huh.
and then contact them and said, like, before the promo starts, can you get me on that lineup?
Right.
And then they would go to the booking agent. The booking agents are like after everything was said and done, it's like, hey, can you? I got a request from this. So like wave after waves after waves, nothing but waves, rocking the boat like crazy. And it happened like more than once, and it was just such like I'm like, what are you doing? And then sure enough, I get the call one day. I'm like, bro, it's just too much stress. Like we're just gonna go in a different direction. Like you just killed the cash cow. Like we had these amazing breaks parties, and all because someone was disappointed that they weren't getting booked as frequently as they wanted. We yeah, the cash cow ended. So I was very disappointed with that. Now I wasn't
Was
distraught
was
about it.
was was the promoters at that time? Jose was Jose at that time. Was he not fond of this
No, totally was.
ABC?
But that wasn't the point. The point was that it was like a trickle down effect. So when the agents get pissed off with all of this, like last minute, oh, by the way, can you add this person because my artist said, like, it's like multiple levels of people getting pissed off down the chain and it all just rolls downhill. So the agent's pissed off and he's like, bro, what's going on in your city that your local is contacting our DJ to contact us to contact you to put on the lineup. And then that's not a good look. That's an awful look, actually. So finally at the end of the day, they just said, look, like you're rocking the boat, and we can't have that. So you got to go. So that was I wasn't too broken up because I had a backup plan. Like that's when I sort of moved full time into working for Destiny. But I had an out. Like I had a backup plan. But like that cash cow was amazing. Like just thinking about that makes me mad. Everything about it was great. The parties were great. Some of the most epic events in breaks history happened in these nights.
This
Chase and Status played a break set.
was it not possible to go to ABC and be like, you need to stop doing this. You're gonna mess up something that is totally awesome
It
for everybody
was
else.
it happened so quickly that we didn't have time, um, and it wouldn't have mattered. Like it's just it was a black mark on my otherwise perfect reputation there, and that perfect reputation of is just you know being a team player and not rocking the boat. So as soon as and that's knowing your role is so important. Like if you're not the primary draw of this mega party, just shut up. Man, like I think about those nights. Like Jason Status played a break set at one of our events. Um, the Freestylers played a set, and Tenorfly and Top Cat were also booked at the drum and bass room, and they came over and did all of their Freestyler songs, unannounced, like just out of nowhere. We didn't plan that; it just happened. Um, like we had those lineups that we had, like Atomic Hooligan, Decline, Evil Nine, DJ Love on the same night. Like these lineups were crazy.
Uber Zone and Simply Jeff.
Oh, that was a great night. But things like that. I was putting together lineups because, and this was actually a great thing because breaks acts, as great as they were very cheap compared to the acts that they were used to paying for, like the Tiestos and whatever. They're like 80, $100,000 acts. Our guys were, I don't know, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Like I could stack those lineups, no problem. And those were the best phone calls. Like, who do you want on this one? Like, how about these 5 UK headliners? Like, okay. Such a great time that was. But, somebody's desire got in the way.
You know, Dan, earlier in the show, I said something. I said that my resolution, which wasn't really a resolution, it's more of a statement from 2020 on New Year's, was that it's never too late.
Was there more to that?
You know, depending on how you want to see the glass, there could be.
Well, never too late for what?
For anything, really, at the end of the
No,
day. If
that's
you
no,
had,
of course not. No,
Dan,
that's
if you had a passion towards something,
sure.
and your goal was still you know, to do it, you could.
No, I
I
agree.
we all get hung up on different things every day. Roadblocks, something that seems like we can't do it. But I mean, what's the biggest Nike slogan?
Just do it. Yeah.
I'm saying that because I'm not. I think to myself, you know, there's always an association with a name, you know, and we can always think good and bad things for some. I
Mhm.
mean, I do see you as the straight man. I don't see you as the asshole, and
Well, you're in the minority then.
I'm definitely not in the minority. You know, I don't think that there's anybody that knows you that thinks that you're a bad guy. You know, and you and I, we do not have to disagree for me to think that you're an awesome person. Or sorry, agree. Well, you know, we can disagree. Um, when it comes to breakbeats in the city of Toronto, I'm not quite sure I could think of one other person that has pushed the genre in the same way that you have. And
Does it
I
make it
also,
funky?
yes,
Yes.
my bad.
Yeah, Farbs is doing a great job
Fuck yeah,
of
that's my
carrying
bad.
that torch.
That's my bad.
Um, yeah, it's yeah. So literally the only breaks parties that really happen in the city are his, and he does a great job at them. So
Yeah, because fuck, he's still going at it. Holy
yeah,
shit.
so the passion that I used to have, he still has.
Apologies, Farbs. No, sincerely. Like I don't know how that's it skipped my brain. You know what it is? Is that I don't know if about it, so I'm gonna say it right now. The next make it funky thing that happens that's out there, I am there on the floor. I don't want to play. I just want to come fucking and get loose.
Yeah, you should. He does a good
Yeah, no,
job.
it's I'm on it. It's happening. Yeah. Yes. Yes. You know what it is? I'll tell you why I didn't think of it. It's because of my personal taste in music. It doesn't mean that I don't like the acts that Fronters bring in. I've had Crafty Cuts remix some of my music.
Mhm.
Love Crafty. Still message once in a while. Um, it just most of the Make It Funky stuff is definitely more focused on, I guess, the slower burn stuff. And I'm like, how fast can I get to fifth gear and hit the highway with my pedal, you know,
Yeah.
completely pressed down onto the mat. So that's why when I think of stuff with breaks, you know, like for me, like a lot, like my breaks heroes, like Uber Zone, yes, you know, Plump DJs, absolutely, you know, sure, some of the freestyler stuff, and you know, but mostly if it was aggressive and running, then I'm still there. And right now I'm going through a DJ Godfather from Detroit moment,
Mhm.
which is real electro, I guess, if you will, and it's broke,
Could you do that?
it's broke. It's broken beats.
Yeah.
It's you know, and I'm listening to it, and I'm really, you know, sometimes when I'm listening to this music, I'm like, this isn't electro, this is fucking breaks. But sure, and then I'm like, you know what, breaks aren't breaks, it's electro. I, I'm sometimes, I'm not entirely wrong. I mean, we listen to early breakbeat music, you know, which is, you know, break dancing music. You know, I listen
Mhm.
to Tour de France. You know,
Mhm.
uh, this is, you know, what is that? It is.
Yeah. Well,
It
so yeah, you're getting into
it
genre
is.
classifications. Ultimately, it's all
It
broken beat.
is. It is. It is. It is.
You can
It
say the
is.
same.
Don't.
Freestyle is breaks too. Little Susie and Stevie B, that's breaks.
You know what? Yes. Yes. And I think that Outcast's Hey Yeah is drum and bass.
It's close. Yeah, it's very close.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I absolutely.
You can get lost in genres. You know, it's
We
actually
could.
funny. You brought up a good name there. I was actually the first promoter to book the Plum DJs in Toronto.
Well, didn't they have? Wasn't there a drama that was associated with that where they couldn't get to North America or something?
Yeah,
They were touring
I was the one that found that
everywhere
out.
else around the world except they couldn't get to North America.
Yeah,
And they were at one point. I want to say the Plump DJs were gonna be the act to take breaks to the main stage.
yeah. And I was
Uh,
so pissed. So I booked them. That was for my second party. So the first one was Baby Ann. The second one was going to be the Plump DJs. And I had called it and I worked it out and I had the contracts in my hand. And then I got a phone call from the agents and they're like, "Oh, wait a second, we have a problem. We can't get a visa." Like, well, why can't you get a visa? Well, of the two of them, one of them had like a minor criminal record, sort of like how Mickey Finn had problems way back in the day getting his visa to come over to North America. Same sort of thing. You have to get like volumes of paperwork if you have even the most minor criminal offense. You have to like fill out so much paperwork to get a visa to come to North America, Canada specifically. Um, so one of them had a criminal record that required volumes of paperwork that they weren't interested in doing, and the other one was petrified of flying. So he had no interest in coming to North America because of the very long flight. So I had to. So we had to. So as a result, they realized like, oh shit, we're going to lose out on a big market because it's going to take a lot to get the visa, and the other guy doesn't want to fly. So like, what are we going to do? Who did I get for that party? Second party was Kelly Reverb, yeah, from Texas.
holy
He
shit!
he had some like banging tunes at the
Use
time.
your tool.
Yeah, there was that. The Southside Reverb, that was a big one.
Yeah.
And the stuff on Lone Star at the time, like I was playing all of his stuff. So I literally, when I was trying to find a replacement, it was so last minute too, because I had Plump DJs in my head for like months, and then like about a month before I was about to start the promo, I get this call like, oh, they can't come. So I'm like, oh, who do I get? I actually went through my record bag. Like, who do I have? Like, Lone Star, Lone Star, Lone Star, Lone Star. Okay, yeah. So it's Kelly Reverb. Let's call him up. And yeah, that was actually a good night. That was a good night too. But yeah, Plump DJs. I never got them either. They showed up. The first time they played in Toronto was I want to say like 2012, I think. And they played at This Is London. So like the government guys got them, but they played at This Is London and they played like all house, which was a shame. And they came back another time at another government related club and they played house again. So
It makes me wonder because there were so many acts, performances, producer teams, that would have one or maybe two guys. There could be four guys, for example, that were part of this group once they were recorded, but when it came to touring, maybe only one or two people. And
yeah,
and and it makes me wonder why, when it came to North America, especially around that time, that I'm assuming it's the person that didn't like flying. It wasn't the other person who had the record that stopped stuff to not just find a way to get over here. I heard, I don't know if this is true, but I heard that Eric Prydz was also uh, not fond of flying. I know these things, and I know about the stories obviously because I abhor flying, which sounds obviously funny considering the amount of air miles that I've done. But
yeah.
I'm
I
not a
never
good
had a
flyer. I don't
problem
know if
with
you
it, but
remember that.
these days I have a problem with it, but I never used to. Anyway, but yeah, to your point about duos and groups, it usually came down to money, um, because the
That's just it.
problem with North America is that flights are still stupid expensive.
Yeah.
And when you think about the global market, and I'm putting my promoter hat back on. When you think about the global market, think about the proximity of all of those European countries. Like London to Spain is a short flight. London to Germany is a short flight. London to Italy, short flight. London to, I don't know, like Ireland, super short flight. But like all of these countries, you can just hop on a $75 flight, just hop over there and hop back. It's like they're a local, pretty much. It's like us playing in Montreal. Not a big deal. Coming to overseas, like an 8-hour flight to get here, and then another 6 hours to get to Vancouver. Playing in North America is a challenge, and it's expensive. So, like, unless you have multiple dates lined up, it's not worth it for people that especially don't love flying to come over here for just one date. The money would have to be good, and then if it's a duo, you have to pay for 2 flights, and pray to God that they want to share a hotel room, which most of the time they don't. So that's like double the cost of everything. There are like certain events, the bigger, higher profile events, or when there's a big tour where you can justify those expenses, but a lot of the times you couldn't. I remember when was that? We did a party with Breakfest on a Labor Day weekend. That was part of our Funk Fest series, where I brought in Soul of Man from Finger Lickin', basically the guys that ran Finger Lickin'. That's 2 guys. It was Justin and Jem. And I wanted them both, but then when I priced out the flights and the cost, it was just too much. It was like thousands of dollars. And if you think about that, like another $1,000 flight at $20 a head, that's a lot of people just to cover that extra flight.
Uh-huh.
And does it matter? Like, does it matter that they're both there? Does it make the set better? Not really. That was actually a very pleasant surprise for me. And this, of course, with DJ sets. For like live sets, yeah, it makes a difference. Like when the Stand
No,
Warriors.
yeah, for sure. Like, I think about, there's some acts like Dirty Phonics, for example,
Mhm.
where you need them all. Like, I wouldn't want to see just
Yeah,
one member of Dirty
when they were
Phonics.
when they were doing the full show, that was a show. Like that was amazing because they had like samplers and DJ setups and things.
Incredible
Like, it was a
turntablism,
yeah,
incredible music. Yeah,
that was a
you're
show.
right. That was a show.
But
Yeah.
yes, but you budgeted for that. Like you would have. It
No,
was it
no,
was so crazy.
I get it. I get it.
But I remember that Soul of Man show fondly because I was so pleasantly surprised. I had heard through various circles that that of the two of them, Justin and Jem, that Justin was the better DJ, but I was getting Jem. So I'm like, well, all right, well, it is what it is. I guess we'll just deal with it. Like, I'm just glad that one of them is coming. And then he came for like a couple days early. That was around the time of iDance, the second iDance, or the first iDance. I don't know. We went to iDance. Went to a bunch of places. But then he gets to the club and destroys it. I was so happy with that party. It was like I'm not listening to any other opinion ever again on other people's DJ skills until I see it for myself because this guy killed it. I was over the moon with that party. That was a good time. I love those Breakfest collaborations. We brought Crafty Cuts for the first time at the party before that. That was actually a nightmare because we had some visa issues. The visa issues were a really big thing back then. I remember specifically being on a golf course at 8 o'clock in the morning. Me and Big League Chew and a couple other guys used to golf at 8 a.m. in the morning on weekdays, a couple times a week. And I remember being on the phone with like the Canadian consulate, trying to figure out a way because I think Crafty on that first show had a gig in Los Angeles first. So he went from London to Los Angeles and he was coming to Canada, but he forgot to go to the consulate in London to pick up his Canadian visa. So he had to do it in LA. And they didn't have the paperwork. So in between holes, I'm on the phone with like the consulate trying to like get things worked out. It was a nightmare. It ultimately worked out. Everything was fine. That party was ridiculous, but yeah, people don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Good times.
You're good times.
Mm.
We doubled the length of our last episode.
Did we? What time is it? Oh no, we're coming close. But we did We didn't even talk
What
about the label.
Dan, this is the thing with you and I, man, is that it's digression, distraction, debate. The
Yeah.
3 Ds with D-Monic. How about that?
Yeah,
Okay?
fair enough.
And I would not have it any other way.
Yeah,
Absolutely adore.
it's been fun, and actually, it was, I guess, I don't know what it was very, it felt really good when I heard, like, in your previous shows. I think there was one with like Mr. Brown, one with Check, where you actually did point out that I've done a lot of stuff, and I didn't think that I did. I was like, oh, I just did some stuff, but then when we actually sit down and break it down, all of the stuff, I'm like, yeah, I did. And we've talked collectively 4.5 hours, or 3.5 maybe. Yeah, about 3.5 hours, and there's still more to talk about.
I was
Like
just about to
the
say
label.
that we're gonna do Return of the Jedi.
Uh,
Okay.
okay, cool. I'm down. And
We
actually, the way things are trending, the next one, we should be able to do it in person.
If that's the case, then I think we're gonna have to go and really split it up. Where we're still gonna hang out and talk, but then let me rave to you. Deal?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And then I need you to actually, if we're gonna go on Facebook and stuff as well, I'm gonna need you to try and curate some obscure stuff that hasn't, maybe even go super old school.
Mm.
I'll tell you what I do. This is so you want to know what has to happen. You say behind the scenes. I'll tell you for Utility Room. The last since Facebook and Instagram and Twitch really clamped down on music being streamed,
Hmm.
I've gone out of my way. If I'm not playing Jello tracks, which I for the last, I don't know, however long of my shows, the focus has been mostly on Jello tracks, because, or at least the ones that I know I've got some control over, because
Hmm.
otherwise I can't do it. And I have to go onto Spotify and then Beatport to see if the tracks are listed there. And I know that if they are, the chances of me streaming them, it could potentially have an algorithm trigger, which is what I'm obviously trying to avoid. And
Hmm.
and I'm not torn about it. I got up on my social media in September, or when it was that the apps opened up, about how they were gonna proceed their moving forward initiative. And
Mm.
I said that, the very idea that we're taking all this music and then do whatever the hell we want with it is wrong. So while I'm frustrated that I can't just play whatever I want when I want online, I also get it. Like, if I'm
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
right
Being an
it,
artist and being a record label owner, I get it too.
mhm.
There's an easy solution, sadly, but none of these platforms will take it up. All of these platforms, YouTube, Facebook, especially on the live side, Twitch, and all of that, they should uh, I don't say brand themselves, but they should recategorize themselves as broadcasters, and then just pay the broadcasting royalties and charge it back to the stream producers. Problem solved.
There is a license that venues and restaurants pay in Canada.
Yeah, yeah. So
SoCan.
can. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and that's exactly what I mean. So it's like radio play, right? So if Facebook came to me and said, um, like the radio shows, remember how we had to always submit our playlists? That was for
I
SoCan,
I I still do that for. That's what I'm saying. I still do that for Utility Room.
right?
Because I've
And
been
you
I've been
should,
I've been
but
trying to push the track so that if people listen to the show, it's not Jello. Like that's the problem with a lot of DJ sets, and I do understand why producers, particularly ones that don't really care about DJing at all, would look at DJs with a bit of disdain, be like, so there's the branding behind the name I get, and so this is why personally I've been frustrated when I went and I tried to do something different but still released as Jello, and it didn't work. I'd be like, I'd get down on myself for a second, but later on, particularly over the last couple of years, what I've been thinking about, I'm like, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. And I have. I don't know how many different names I've recorded under. And you might not even know that. I have like, I don't know, like a half dozen aliases.
Mm,
Legit.
didn't know that.
Unless you went on SoCan, then you'll see. Yeah, you may even have a few of these tracks in your box. And like, hi.
Hmm.
I did that. I did that purposely because I was like, this can't come out as Jello. It's just that's not what this idea is. The same way that I would never want to, like what essentially what Metallica went through with Justice for All when they put One on the album. That was also their first music video. Actually, told MTV for years that they would never make music videos, and then they made a music video.
Mm.
And One was, I guess, not really a ballad, but I guess it was more balladish than anything else that they had done up until that point. And so there was a lot of feedback that was obviously not so strong for them in favor of their choices that they made. I love the song One, and I think And Justice for All might be the best Metallica album ever. But still, I'm not quite sure if I'm even saying this right. Yeah. Sorry. Talk about
It's okay.
digressions. Yeah, I'm right here. I'm right here.
So how about the rants?
Well, I mean, listen. Overall, in summary, I feel like I've made more strong moves than less strong moves, but I will never cheat Jello again, no matter what. And if I got an idea to go off and go and do something else, it's definitely coming out under a different name. And that way, there's no disappointment. And of course, it's not like it's a surprise. I'm constantly trying to evolve the build up. You can't put on 2 tracks that I've done and be like, that's the exact same build. He did the exact same thing. No fucking way. Right? I'm trying. And sometimes it doesn't fucking work. I mean, like, it's not like this then, And I'll tell you what, everything I've ever spent time on, like if I spent over a month on a track, I sit down for 2-3 hours, like, fuck it, and I'm done. Anything that I've ever, if there's been something that did top 10 Beatport, whatever, something, it was, I swear, 3-4 hours. It was that's the idea. This is where it's at. That's what it is. Goodbye. And when I've sit down and I've tried to overproduce or totally saturate an idea, it needs a little bit more of this. It's essentially the same thing as a kitchen. By the time you get around to the onion powder, did it really need it?
Yeah.
Right. You got onion in there. Doesn't need the onion powder now. So. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about with you right now. I love you. I love you. I love you.
You're just going off on your rants.
Yeah,
I'm just along for the ride.
Sorry, that's okay. How was it? Your seatbelt buckled up?
Fine.
You okay? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's a
I'm well secured.
Okay. Anything you want to shout out real quick, because I'm gonna have to figure out how to do a 3rd episode, and then we'll get into Pure Funk and Two Wars. And all that stuff. But I mean, listen,
could do a whole show on that. There's a lot of drama in there.
What? I would keep going. Do you know what? Do you know why I would like to stop? Because I'm concerned that you know what it is. I'm a Joe Rogan listener. I'm also on the other side. Sometimes I also listen to Ben Shapiro. I can't say that I agree with their opinions all the time. Okay, and it's good to have healthy debate. When I do listen to these shows, when I see a Rogan episode and I open it up and it's over 2 hours, I'm looking at it and I'm like, it's not getting finished. Please don't say super important shit in that last hour. That that I'm gonna have to be like, there's an excerpt and be like, I see the excerpt somewhere on YouTube, be like, oh, I can't believe I missed this. Now I've got to go through the fucking.
Yeah, I know. I'm sort of the same way. A lot of the ones, like even some of your longer shows, I will break them up.
Yeah, it's too long.
I do a lot of like housework or cooking or whatever, and I'll just listen to them.
That's right.
But yeah, people. But no, I agree.
I turn on a movie, I see over 2 hours, and I'm going. Do
I have that kind of commitment?
Yeah. Do I have the time for it? And never mind. It's not just time. I try to think about how messages are digested. And so, like, can I digest more than 2 hours of all this information and retain it? I think the longest episode that I listened to for Rogan was the Edward Snowden episode. That was very long, and I've been trying to. It's my cousin came at me and told me that he listens to podcasts at 2 times the speed.
Yeah. Yep, that's the thing.
Uh,
I
and
listen to audiobooks at 2 times the speed.
okay, so I'm at 1.5 times, and if I try to go faster than that, I feel like I'm about to lose it. And
It depends on how well the speaker enunciates.
well, I have a
I
super
can't do it all the
fat
time.
tongue, Dan. My tongue is fucking massive. Okay,
Okay.
it served me well in my dating life. I will tell you that I'll make out with you two right now, Dan. Right now.
Don't need that. Don't need to hear
As soon as I get poked in the arm, I'm asking you out. So
it.
uh, I'm like, it's not like a mumble. So sometimes my tongue just fucking gets stuck in my mouth.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Doc Trance used to constantly come at me about it. I'd finish up my show. He'd come in the room right now. He'd be like, "Were you even speaking English?" I'd be like, "Yes." He's like, he's like, "You mumble."
Yeah,
And
so
then
do I.
I was like, "Do I?" I'm like, "No, it's my like, literally the edges of my tongue are pushed up against the back of my teeth right now, and I think it's fucking with my sleep."
Oh, that's a different story. I'll talk to you about that offline.
You want to talk to me about sleep offline? Right now, everyone's all dialed in right now.
So, look, what's this about your tongue? What?
Oh shit! Oh, look, I love you. Let's do this right.
Okay.
Let's see each other in maybe potentially I think I've got either a Saturday or a Thursday left in April. I got to take another look, which I'm not going to do right now because scrolling while I'm on the show fucking sucks. But
Yeah,
mostly,
don't. Well, we'll play it by ear, but I think if we give it some time for things to get to some level of normalcy, maybe we can actually get together, play a set, have some more debates.
yeah, I'd really like that. I mean, I just like to see ya.
I'd like to see anybody at this point. So
God, fuck. Hey, and then I guess my big question is Dan, what does your utility room look like?
you're in it. This is
Am
it.
I?
Yeah, this is pretty much it.
Well, okay, all right.
I have a small quaint place, and this is it.
So then,
These are all the utilities I need.
okay, right. I'm actually saying like where is your hot water tank and stuff? Is it like a closet? Can you actually fit people in there? Well, no, I've been in some some like big places where the utility rooms are super tiny. Mine is I don't know how big this is. I don't even know how square feet. I mean, it's big. I don't want to move the camera around right now because mostly because everything is wired and fucking weird. But yeah, I mean, like you can. I had Jules in here. I had Tiki Tai in here. They both played in here.
Yeah, I don't have that kind of space.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that maybe we're gonna have to, you come down, you get the fresh scent of laundry.
Downy Fresh, let's do it.
You get a little bit of the heat. That's the hot water tank. That's my unit, the professional 615 by Ream. It's professional grade. Yeah, we don't run out of hot water in this place.
Amazing.
I love it. I love you. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your thoughts and your share. And mostly, I still to this day, after 2 decades, I do appreciate debating with you. With me right now in the show, D-Monic. Not the first time, definitely not the last. The show is Utility Room. My name is Jello. You are absolutely awesome sauce, and